This may be our last video for the top of the Pro Tools edit window. Might not. We'll see. This section here, next to the transport, it's called the MIDI Controls. Is that right? MIDI Controls. Most important for us, I'm not going to go over every little detail because there's some things here. Might get there, we'll see. The count off is a button that's on or off. It's related to your click track, which I haven't introduced, but you will hear so much about it from me. This is your click track. It establishes the it establishes the tempo of your track. It doesn't establish it, but it demonstrates it to you. And the count off in particular is a series of beats of the click track before your track starts to play back. So right now I have the click track and the original song soloed. Go back to the beginning and press play. This is actually dependent on how my click track's set up. So bounce back for a second. Let's take a look. You can turn off your click track. You have a click track. Pro Tools is awesome, yet confusing at times, because you can do things in many different ways. You can turn off your click track like that, but you can also turn it off just by muting it. So, turn that back on, in essence, by taking solo off, I'm muting it. I guess that didn't work, but so actually the click track that tells us that it's essentially not treated like other audio tracks where it's always playing. So even when you solo something, you'll hear it, but if you mute it, you're turning it off. So that turns on or off your metronome. That is a metronome icon. Those of you who have spent some time practicing music at tempo, playing music. If you double click on this button, you get a little dialog box about some details about your click and your count off options. So first, it says, do you want your click track during play and record? That means when it's playing back, do you want to hear your click track? When you're recording, do you want to hear your click track? So this is all times. Only during recording, that's interesting because you'll hear it, okay, I need to know the timing of my song, so I'm playing to the tempo of the track. And then you go back and listen to it, and you think it sounds fine, but you're not listening to the click track. So even for that kind of check off, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I generally leave this in during play and record. Sometimes I'll come only during count off, meaning, and I'll demonstrate the count off, that you hear the click track for however long you've told the count off to be, and then you don't hear it again. Kind of useful in live situations when you're recording a band. They can't play to a click track, but they want to have, an idea of where something starts. In any case, this note indicates the pitch of the click and how long it is. Just as what you hear, the sound of it. The accent, you'll hear that. It usually is on, it is on the downbeat of the measure. So like 1 is downbeat. So whether that's whatever measure that is. So the accent is a louder hit. So when you're listening to a click track, it's a detail that you should pay attention to, and you'll hear it. I'll play it back in a second. And that's essentially just a louder hit. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. That's an accent. And then only during record is the count off. Okay, so this count off, what I'm talking about and haven't demonstrated, again, is that classic thing that you hear in rock and roll. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, go, but it's your click track. So I'm going to leave that at 2 measures or 2 bars. Same thing. That means it's going to count to 8. And what that's good for is that, you're sitting at your piano, your MIDI controller, and it gives you time to, press record and get things going. So these are my typical settings. I will definitely sometimes, I don't like to have the count off before playback, but I'll turn that off for a second. So make sure we can hear the click. It's muted at the moment. So playback hasn't started. Go. And now I don't hear that metronome anymore. I don't have the metronome.
And I know she'll be the
Let's double click this and turn that back on, because I don't like to listen back. If I press play, why do I need to sit there for? All right, so now I can hear the click. I can turn it off here.
And I know she'll be the death of me, at least.
So important. This again is related to synchronization or MIDI control, and we're not dealing with it. This MIDI merge button, super cool. I'm going to explain it in a different video on recording MIDI. And then your conductor. Your conductor is essentially shows that what you've placed in the tempo as your song is connected to your grid, how you move things. There's very few instances making music that I take the conductor off. Let's just put it that way. Count off, do I want to hear it or not? So when I said I leave this on during record, I could have it either way. If I turn that off, you don't hear it. Okay, so again, actually, I can't have that to demonstrate this. No count off. Press count off, you're going to hear 8 beats. Not a lot of fun to hear that in playback, and instead of turning it on and off, I just have that set as a preference. So I can have this highlighted and it's not going to do anything when I just press play. Okay, so those are the MIDI controls. That video went way long. It was hella boring. Oh, and there's more to talk about. The meter of your song, it's a display. It's 4/4 time. This song, 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4. Those of you who I'll explain that in a music video at some point. Again, 2 measures. That was in this preference. It's 2 bars. So my intro is 8 beats. And it displays tempo. Displays tempo. If you turn the conductor off, you can manipulate that tempo, but the conductor will always link back up to the tempo at which you kind of formally placed your song. All right, so I'm going to do the rest on another video and call it a day.